From the Arkansas Sports Network, it's an in-depth Arkansas Razorbacks podcast featuring the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Brad Caldwell.
When I grew up, I remember the Quinn Grovey days where the SWC champions in 88 and 89. I mean, that was the time that I grew up. That's the time that I got hooked on Razorbacks.
Around here, we call him the Rain Man of Arkansas Razorback Sports, Mr. Teran Miller.
Real quick, speaking about going down to Baton Rouge, and all the corn dogs and all that nature. But y'all remember the time Bobby Boucher intercepted the quarterback and his pants fell off?
And finally, he wears his hair upside down and he pushes all the buttons, Mr. Bill Harshaw.
When you look at the Razorback athletic program across the board, Hunter Yurichek's got this thing moving in the right direction. Because these kids are looking at Arkansas athletics going, hey, Arkansas is the place to be, and we haven't had that in a while.
Everyone get ready, because you're now connected to the Razor Wire.
And welcome back to yet another episode of the Razor Wire. New intro bringing us in, and want to welcome in Brad Caldwell, Teran Miller. I'm Bill Harshaw, and guys, it's fun to be a Razorback, isn't it?
Oh, man, absolutely. One thing that we probably aren't even going to be able to touch on today, and we did a little bit last week, was 9 conference championships in the regular season for the Arkansas programs. I feel like it's almost unprecedented, and it's the most in the SEC by far. It's not even close.
Yeah, man, it's a great time to be a Razorback. Awesome series, man. How fun was that at Florida, the Florida series last weekend? Just amazing. Everything is rolling. 9 SEC championships, like you said, and Hunter Yurichek's got it going.
He really does. And looking before we get into a whole lot of that, let's talk about some things that are hot off of the Razor Wire. Coach Dave Van Horn picked up SEC Coach of the Year honors, and I mean, who didn't see that come? The only thing I'm surprised about is there's not a co in front of it.
One of the things I'm actually surprised that it's only the second time winning it. Of all the success, of all the success that the Razorbacks have had over the years, that's just Dave Van Horn's second time to win the SEC Coach of the Year. I mean, it almost seems like a travesty in some ways, right? But he absolutely deserved it this time, and the Razorbacks have been the most dominant team through the SEC. And we're smack dab in the middle of the tournament, and we're in a position at this point that we get to see the matchup that I think everybody's been waiting for.
That's what we're looking forward to. And of course, Dave Van Horn did comment about earning the Coach of the Year honors. He said it's kind of a team award is the way he sees it. Here's what Dave Van Horn had to say.
Well, it's I've always said this. I feel like it's a team award and a coaching staff award, and I already told the guys I appreciate everything we do for us, to make me look a little better. But I have really good assistant coaches, and they take care of their position guys. And they've done a tremendous job this year, and then obviously the players have won a lot of games, and but it means a lot, and I really appreciate it.
So again, that's Coach Dave Van Horn talking about his Coach of the Year honors. And of course, Kevin Kopps also picked up some awards recently. SEC Pitcher of the Year, no co in front of it.
Yeah, that's right. Kind of surprising there because you got a guy like Kumar Rocker who's just been awesome all year. But to us, in my opinion, by far, Kevin Kopps has been the man. And he's 10-0 on the year, 10 wins and 8 saves. Just phenomenal stats by Kevin Kopps, and he's just incredible to do what he does, to come out there almost every weekend. He comes out 2 times, throws 40, 50, 60 pitches sometimes. It's just phenomenal.
And he was
well
so
deserved.
humble and so humble about it.
Yes.
When he talked about him receiving the Player of the Year, he was kind of acted a little bit surprised. Here's what Kevin Kopps had to say.
I don't know. It's cool. It's pretty surreal. I think God has really blessed me beyond what I could imagine with that. I would have never imagined a year like this. And like you said, there's a lot of other really good guys in the league. But to be honest, I don't really think about it that much. I kind of just am focused on the postseason now and finishing kind of the final goal that we have in winning it all.
So Kevin Kopps continues to handcuff everybody he faces, and I mean, it's just nobody can do that. I mean, he attributed it to beet juice, and that's something that he talked about a while back. And he continued to talk about beet juice. And let's go ahead and throw in that comment too.
Apparently, I kind of like it. It kind of reminds me of like a unsweet tea, kind of like a bitterish, but I like unsweet tea. For majority of the guys that try it, because I've had it, they tell me it's awful. So I guess it's awful. But I started because I started trying to not eat or drink like sugars, like artificial sugars or added sugars. And I don't really like Gatorade, so it makes like I don't like candy or like sweets like that because it's too sweet for me. So, but I realized that I still need sugar when I play, so I just decided to get like some beet juice or some fresh juice to get sugars kind of naturally like that. And God kind of guided me through my ignorance and just picked beet juice, and it ended up being the right choice.
So, guys, have you tried beet juice? Have any of you found any of it since he's mentioned it?
I haven't, but I'm going to. I'm going to try it. I absolutely am. I've heard it. It kind of, I guess he said something that it tastes like unsweet tea. But apparently it's very, very good for you. And, when you get to my age, you need to start doing things in the right way. I'll be 40 in just a couple weeks. Unreal. I mean, Duran, he's already 40. He's over the hill now.
Wow, buddy.
Right.
But something's still working a little bit for me. But,
a little bit.
Yeah, we're having issues there. But no, beet juice, man, that's incredible. I'm gonna cut back on my Badger's milk and make sure I get a little bit more beet juice. But
there you go.
When you said the unsweet tea, I might have to make that Johnny Cash face. Like I hurt myself today. Look,
right.
I'm from the South, man. Got to have a little bit of sugar in there.
There you go.
But no, there's some kind of secret he's doing because he has been just rolling, and whatever's working. If there's some way to buy stock in beet juice, you better sign me up because I mean it's fixing to go up.
One of the greatest compliments that I think I've heard of any of the Arkansas staff ever give a player, Matt Hobbs. He spoke at a podcast and talked about how that you probably draft Kevin Kopps, you move him straight to AA. He said he's performing at that high of a level. And Kopps, he's been through a lot here. He's not been this overall dominant as a Razorback. I mean, and go all the way back to 2017 in that rain game against Missouri State, where it went to like 3 or 4 in the morning. Kevin Kopps started that game. That's how long he's been at Arkansas. He is, I believe, a 6th-year junior somehow. I don't even know how that works. But he's going to come out. He's going to make a lot of money this year because of the season that he's had. And whatever the light has went on with Kopps, it's almost I don't know how even to say it. It's very, very unexpected because he wasn't a guy that was on the radar. He wasn't a Kumar Rocker or a Jack Leiter or even a Patrick Wicklander for that matter. He was a guy that nobody was really talking about in the preseason. And here he is now, by far and away, in my opinion, easily the SEC Pitcher of the Year.
Yeah, and they Hobbs talked about that a little bit. He threw the 2-seam fastball, or he threw a 4-seam. They changed it to a 2-seam. He kind of relaxed. He would throw that 4-seam basically hard as he could. He relaxed, changed it to the 2-seam, and it really helped with what he calls the cutter. That's a big thing. Like announcers don't know what it is. Nobody has it exactly. It's a cut slider, cut ball, cutter. The announcers the other day were basically calling it a circle change. It was just a lot of different stuff. Whatever it is, guys don't see it. It has sink on it. And Kopps talked about how he holds it like a 2-seam and he kind of changes the axis of it a little bit. So it kind of gets a little bit of a slider action to it. So it's slurvy, not exactly sure, but it's an airbender. And that's what I'm referring to Kevin Kopps to for now on. Kevin Airbender Kopps.
You put that out there on social media not long after the game the other night.
Yes,
and
I was excited.
That's what it is. He has the rotation on that ball that it makes it very hard for the hitter to see. And that's very exciting to see. Now, we also have some interesting stuff going on over at Bogle Park this weekend as Arkansas softball takes on Arizona in their first ever super regional at Bogle Park.
Yeah, and Arizona is a program that has been a storied program. Two names that you associate with USA softball: Jenny Finch and Mike Candrea. Mike Candrea was the coach of USA softball for years. He was also the coach of Arizona at the time when there was really no other softball played outside of Division I softball. Past Division I softball. Now you do have some professional leagues now, and of course, you've got USA softball as well. But Jenny Finch, obviously, one of the names, probably the biggest name associated with softball. Those are associated with the Arizona program. Now, that's been many years ago, and Arizona's probably dropped off a little bit, but they are going to be a handful for the Razorbacks this weekend.
Yeah, very storied program, and lots of people. My wife, she's 3 years younger than me. She grew up a softball person. A lot of people that were softball girls that grew up that way, they remember, back before every game was televised like they are nowadays, or a lot of them are, softball was only on here and there, and Arizona was on there a lot. And he was the coach of Team USA. And a lot of these young women, at the time idolized Jenny Finch. And so, I mean, this is a big deal. That's about as storied as it gets. They're up there with UCLA, Arizona, in recent past, they got the Florida and Alabamas and Oklahomas, of course. But it's a big deal. Bogle's already sold out. And it's going to be rocking and rolling. And I can't wait. I really hope they can manage to win that and get back to the College World Series.
Absolutely, it's going to be a big game for Arkansas softball. They're trying to be the first team that wasn't who was it, Florida and Alabama to win the SEC championship. So they're definitely moving in the right direction. We're excited to see what happens out of that. But the Razorbacks, the baseball team, they are still continuing to fight. They have a game tonight, matter of fact. They took on a very tough Florida team to end the regular season, and we not only looked good, but we swept them all.
Yeah, I was very surprised by that. And man, I'll tell you what, it was just a great weekend to be up there. And I tried to go up there on Friday night, and I had tickets, got my family up there. Of course, I've got two small children. They're actually back in the back right now, and I'm trying to make sure that I don't have to kill them. But anyway, so we're out there. It starts to rain. We're in the hog pen. It starts to rain. My kids are about soft as cotton, and they're not going to take the rain, and they couldn't take being in the concourse with, basically the whole stadium. Which, who can blame them? They're small, understandable. So we decide we're going to go to a hotel room and try to wait it out, and then we'll come back to the park. Well, needless to say, by the time that we tried to go get dry clothes at Walmart and then come back to the park, it was a no-go. So I drove all the way to Fayetteville, paid for tickets to watch the ball game, watched it from the hotel room about less than 1 mile from Baum Stadium, and they won the SEC championship. I could hear the fireworks going off at night.
Oh, and I was giving it to you because we were phone chatting back and forth, and I was trying to tell them, don't take this out on your wife and your kids too hard. That you all the way up there and had to watch it in the motel. I know how that would have been, but anyways, did you get at least a nice Reebok shirt and like some Champion shorts out of the deal? From Walmart?
Definitely no. Definitely not. In fact, I think I got some socks because my socks were wet.
And one, baby.
Right. So, the worst part was I spent $60 on tickets. Then went and spent $70 at Walmart, and then spent $100 for a hotel room. And I didn't even get to see the Razorbacks play and win the SEC championship.
A walk-off that you missed, and
exactly.
And that was by Charlie Welch, and
exactly,
just incredible,
So it's probably good, because if I had been there, they might have dropped the foul ball on the first base line, right?
Oh, that gives me flashbacks, Brad. Yeah, you went there. You brought it up this time, bro.
Right.
But that's a good feeling you get. I wish I would have been able to be there to watch it, but it's a good feeling you get to watch your team clinch the outright SEC championship. What about you guys?
My thing is we've lost for so long. You know, it just seems like ever since Bobby Petrino fell off the bike that the only thing that we've won in is baseball. And even at that, you know, up until recently, we haven't won at a high level as we have now. And so it's just a lot of fun right now to just sit back. For me, I'm like a big picture person, and I just it's like me just looking around like, is this real life right now? I mean, am I in a dream? Right? Is this really happening? Because it's hard for me to soak it all in that you got 9 conference championships, you're winning in baseball, you went to the Elite Eight in basketball, you've got a softball regional right now. I mean, when you've lost as much as the Razorbacks have, it's just like, is this really happening?
Yeah, you kind of waiting for something to fall apart, you know, like Slavin stepping on first weird, or you know, something weird like that. But no, I think hopefully he'll be able to come back from that. But I know what you're saying though. It's just like it's almost too good to be true, because we have suffered, except for baseball, but not to this level of how great it's been. So I totally agree with you, Brad.
Well, Duran, you kind of alluded to it, you know, with the Slavin's injury. You know, we did pick up a pretty big, nasty injury in that Florida game. Peyton Paulette got injured. Not really sure what it is. He was fine, and then one pitch later he wasn't fine, and that does not look good when you look at it in those terms. And you know, Dave Van Horn, he's keeping things close to his chest. He doesn't want to give it all out. Now, of course, you also have to think, you know, how much is HIPAA standing in the way of him being able to release medical information? And this is all we could get out of Dave Van Horn.
He was perfectly fine, and it was one pitch. Not 100% sure exactly, but he won't pitch during this tournament.
Do you think there's a chance he could pitch in a regional, or just don't know?
Let's say probably not.
So you think he's done for the year?
That's probably what that means.
Could you be more specific on the injury?
I don't know if I can, because it's a medical thing. So I've just given you everything I'm going to give you.
So that's Dave Van Horn talking about the injury Peyton Paulette got on the mound. And, you know, we were talking during the game on, you know, it happened so suddenly. You know, is this a cramp? Is this guy, his back get tweaked? You know, it doesn't sound like that's what it is, though.
No, it sounds like he's done for the year. And if it's what we think it might be, it could be done for next year as well, especially being so late in the year, that we may not see Peyton Paulette for all of next year. So it is going to be interesting to see what happens. Maybe it's not quite as bad as it seems, and maybe there's some rehab involved, but boy, it sure does seem like that you may have Tommy John surgery coming for Peyton Paulette.
Rob, and Van Horn, that staff, they don't really mess around with that. If it ends up being that's what it is, a UCL strain or tear, you know, so there's been guys that have come back from that without having surgery, but it's very rare. And if it's any kind of significance at all, they're not going to mess around with that. They're going to go to Tommy John, and that's about a year rehab. And sometimes it just depends on the person. There's been guys come back under a year. That doesn't happen very often, but normally it's closer to probably 15 months for you're really back to where you're at. And then maybe you're better eventually, but better than you were, you know, because you get back to that first place that you ever were before you started wearing it down. But it's a big loss. And but you know, you got guys like Lockhart stepping up and just doing what he did last night. And that's, impressive. And that's what it takes. Somebody goes down, the rest of the team's got to step up.
That's it. And I think, you know, Brad, you and I realized, you know, the importance of Lockhart's performance before the television announcers did. When we're sitting here going, do you guys realize he's pitching a perfect game right now?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. We were sitting there talking about it, and you said, you said, do they even realize what's going on? And I said, I think they just caught it.
Right.
Of course, you know, it's one of those deals that in the SEC, they actually have a run rule in the SEC tournament to kind of move the games along. Arkansas's creeping up on that run rule, and you look, no runs, no hits, no errors for
no
Georgia,
walks.
No walks. And then all of the sudden, you know, it was like, whoa, this is happening. And then, of course, it didn't happen. But, man, what an impressive performance that Lockhart had last night. It was pretty amazing.
And Lockhart was kind of talking, you know, about how he, you know, the game prior to his game ran a little long, so it kind of interrupted a little bit of his pregame stuff. And, in a way that usually is going to be detrimental to a pitcher. In Lockhart's case, it kind of acts like maybe it helped him.
Yeah, I think it did. It sped him up. He said he just tried to kind of work through it and close off and just try to throw strikes. And for whatever reason, it was a perfect formula. And it was the best he's looked all year, maybe in his career. It's just excellent stuff right there.
Absolutely.
That would have been the first ever of any
Yeah.
kind perfect game in any conference tournament ever. He was one pitch away. One pitch away.
I know. And that pitch right before it, he wanted that call. To me, when he talked about it in his interview, he talked about it being a fastball, but I don't know if he could remember it. I thought it broke a little bit, but maybe it was a fastball. I thought maybe it was an off speed, but it could have been called for sure. It was a little up and in, but not too bad. It was right on the line, and he didn't get that call. And then he said he reared back and threw it hard as he had all night, and it was an outside fastball and to a lefty, and the guy just put a good hit on it, hit it through that 6-0. And battles just to get his glove on it was a miracle. He just chunked it over. He wouldn't have thrown that if it wasn't a perfect game on the line. He would have just held it.
That's it.
So I mean, that happens. You get one strike away. We all know about that kind of stuff, and one pop up away or whatever. But
well, Duran told us
one foul pop up.
Yeah, well, Duran's told us what Lockhart said. Let's go ahead and listen in his own words and hear what Lockhart had to say, and knowing that it's on his head and on his mind that he's working on a perfect game. Here's Lockhart.
I mean, it was a fun one. Got wet there at the end, but I mean, came in here, got a little rushed on the pregame stuff, and went out there not with my best stuff, it felt like, and just decided to close it off and get after it and let the chips fall where they may, and it ended up being a good day. And it felt like we were shortened up on I don't want to say the regular routine, but definitely had to alter it a little bit. And so in the bullpen, I don't think I had 2 out of my however many pitches, and just went out there and kind of trusted it and just let it rip. And it was it was good. I would have to say the fastball and the curveball were my go-to. It seemed like all game long, try to change up here or there. Wasn't really that great, was leaving them up, and tried a slider. It was kind of getting touched or fouled off when it usually is my go-to pitch. So made the adjustment, I think, right around the third or end of the second inning, and just wrote it out from there. I think it was right. I came out after coming out of the 5th. I can't remember which inning it was. I want to say it was the 5th when there was a line drive to Robert Moore, and I think that was kind of when I was like, okay, we got 2 more innings here, guys. Put up 10 runs. We'll get this run roll, and it's just that 7 innings was kind of like, all right, let's get after it and see if we can do this thing. I mean, I'd be lying to you if I wasn't going through my mind that last inning to go out there. I was really pulling for the boys to get to 10 runs, and just so it would shorten it up and make it just a little bit easier. And then when it came down to that last pitch, I thought we were almost shifted over, because usually we seem to shift me over on a lefty. I believe that was who was batting. And I thought it was right to, I believe it was Nesbitt at short. And I looked through and see Battles even got to the ball. And I was like, if there's anyone that's going to make this play, it's going to be Jalen Battles, just firing this one over the first. And I was praying he was almost, whoever the guy hitting was, tripped, fell, whatever, and it was just going to be game over.
So again, that's Lyle Lockhart talking about that almost perfect game he threw last night against Georgia.
The thing that I like right now is the last 2 starts for Lockhart have probably been his best 2 starts. And when you talk about losing a guy like Paulette, when you've got a guy like Lockhart coming in, and then, we were talking a little bit before the show about a guy like Heston Toll, who has thrown like 7 innings all year long. Guy has the look of a weekend starter. You've got Jackson Wiggins. They have arms to go to. In fact, they're as probably as deep as they've ever been. They've got to get those guys to compete and do what they need to do. Now's the time. And it looks like they've got Lyle Lockhart ready to go for a regional. I wouldn't be surprised at this point if he starts game 1 of next week's regional.
Yeah, I totally agree. You're going to play probably a 4 seed in that first game, and the way he's throwing, I mean, he's definitely your game 2 top starter. But being the way it falls and he pitched first, I think he might throw him there. Now we'll go back to that 2018 team. I was at that game when we played ORU. Blaine Knight, I get to the game and it was to be announced, and Van Horn's pitching Blaine Knight, and I'm like, oh no, I was a little worried, because I want to have him available, once we play that 2 or that 1 in that next game. But it all worked out. Blaine Knight was awesome, and then Casey came in, Murphy, and did his thing. So I mean, it all worked out. That's why he's Dave Van Horn. You know, he knows what he's doing. Right, exactly. So yeah, I totally agree with you, Brad. He definitely could start that, and I like what you brought up about Toll, man. We were talking about that, like you said, and just unreal. He looked really good, 6'6". You know, I've seen him before, but his off speed stuff was he was putting it where he wanted it for the most part, and that was very encouraging to see.
And while all of this is great this year and everything looks really good, this team is going to be very good again next year. I mean,
Yes.
and for years to come, because they seem to continue to stockpile talent. And I think something that maybe if they win it all, maybe we can talk about maybe in between football and baseball is if Arkansas wins this all. Think about this: they would have went to the championship game in 18. They're back in the World Series in 19, and then they go back and let's just say that hypothetically they do win it all. You're talking about 3 years in a row, 2 years playing for a championship. They've had top 5 recruiting classes every year since. This year was number 3. Could this be what we're looking at right now as an Alabama football type run in baseball?
I think it very well
Possibly.
could be. I do think it could be because, you got these guys that are performing fantastic for you right now, and then you have these games where you expect Dave Van Horn to and he does throw in some guys that hadn't seen a lot of playing, and he brings in these backups, if you will, and they are good in and of themselves. They hold their own, and we win that game too. And so when you can win games without your starting 9 guys, and you can win without those 9 or 10 guys that you can rely on every day. That says a lot. That says we have depth and that the future is very, very bright as long as we can stay healthy.
Absolutely, and that was the scare from last night. I mean, we're talking about what does this mean for Arkansas? It doesn't mean much. It looks like Arkansas is the number 1 overall seed going into it. I mean, I I just don't see any other way. Even if they lose tonight and then lose the next one, it looks like they're going to be the overall number 1 seed. For teams like Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, and Tennessee, this tournament does nothing for them except expose them to the fact of possible injuries. Obviously, for teams like Ole Miss, who's possibly outside, maybe as a top 8 seed, maybe just right on the cusp of our team that's right on the cusp of hosting, maybe like a Florida, that might help them out. But for Arkansas, it means nothing to them. And you almost lost your 3-hole hitter and first baseman last night.
Almost. And that's the big thing is, Slavens, that was a nasty injury. Let me tell you, I've had knee surgery. I'm well aware of what things like that feel like. And it hurt me sitting there on my couch watching it. And of course, Dave Van Horn continues to keep things close to his chest. He did talk about Slavens. Here's what Dave Van Horn had to say about Slavens' injury.
Yeah, it looks like it's probably not broke. At first it didn't look good, obviously, and then seeing him, but I think the pain went away a little bit, and yeah, he did come back. He's got a boot on his foot right now, just keeping an eye on it, and but I don't know exactly what's going on there. I haven't had anybody talk to me about it. I'm sure I'll find out here in a little bit, but yeah, it was definitely uplifting. It looked like there's some opportunity for him to get healthy, but we'll know more later, obviously.
So again, Dave Van Horn talking about Brady Slavens' injury last night, and of course we saw him after. He came back and finished the game, in the bench area, had a boot on, and that's an encouraging sign. He tweeted out, maybe just a roadblock, but it's going to be sore for a while, and I at least wouldn't see him the rest of this particular tournament, I would think.
Yeah, it was very encouraging. He started putting weight on it a little bit, not much, but a little bit, and when that first happened, and the pain he was in, and I think he was in tears even at one point. You couldn't tell; he had his face covered, but and that might have been more of just the situation. How you're worried about not getting to play again, kind of thing. But to see him put weight on it, to come back out in a boot, he's not going into surgery. He's not, going somewhere off at another place to get an extra MRI because of what all they're seeing. So it's very encouraging. When I was like 16, 17, I did a jump shot playing basketball, come down and landed on the side of my foot, just like he did, kind of, and tore a ligament. But it wasn't bad enough that it had to have surgery. But I mean, it affects you. And it was a month before I was really decent again. You know what I mean? And I really wasn't then, but he could probably do some things on it in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, if it was that kind of same thing. I don't know exactly, but let's just hope that he definitely can be ready by at least super regionals, hopefully.
Oh, I think he's going to be okay. I think he'll play in the regional. I don't see any way that he won't at this point. He kind of tweeted out that he's
It's the
okay.
roadblock.
It was kind of scary. I think it scared him probably more than anything, but I
Right.
think he's going to be okay. We need him. I can tell you that much. I mean, he was a
Yeah.
big difference maker in that Florida series. That's why we swept.
He leads the team in RBIs, 59 RBIs on the season, and for a lot of the year he's led in average, or he's been right there over 300 for most of it. So yeah, you're right. He definitely is big, and we need him. And but I think we're still good without him. But he is a key cog, and we're only better with him. So I mean, let's hope that he can come back. And like you said, if it's even regionals, that would be impressive.
Well, the thing that Slavens was brought in for was to hit. They thought we'll put him in defensively wherever we need to. The good news is on that hitting front, you have people like Charlie Welch who can step in and just drop bombs. So hitting wise, I think we'll still be good without Slavens, but we're going to need somebody at first base that can run that gig. And again, Charlie Welch is going to have that bat ready.
Welch is definitely a big time player in the system that he's in right now. As far as just he's a pinch hitter guy in that role. I think he can rake. I think he's going to be a great guy for Goodhart next year to come in and maybe
Yeah.
be DH. But he can't replace Slavens. I mean, Slavens is good over there in the corner, and that's as big as anything. He's got 13 home runs. He's hitting over 300, but he brings a whole package because he's good at first base.
Right. Yeah, and Slavens is 6'3". He's long, and he's. I mean, if you're just going to look at a carbon copy of what you want body wise at first base, I mean, he fits a lot of the bills there. But Welch, just man, is it not impressive what he's doing as a pinch hitter? It's just incredible. You don't see that very often. A guy who's just ready to come in and hit, cold turkey like that. It's really very neat. And I heard a story on him that was shared and are done, but just incredible. Coming out of high school, he goes to an Arkansas camp. Nobody really wants to, take him. He was struggling batting wise. Everybody's looking at him as a catcher, and they kind of want somebody with more power, more average, and so he don't really get any offers. And then finally, he gets committed to South Carolina. They have a coaching change. He leaves there, and then just randomly, Van Horn runs into him at a camp or summer ball in East Texas, and sees him again, and he's hitting home runs with a wooden bat. So Van Horn starts to talk about him, and he's like, Van Horn tells him, basically like, hey, I don't know how much playing time you're going to get, but we're kind of interested. And he's like, sign me up. He wanted to go to Arkansas. He wanted to go to Arkansas from the very get go. And you love kids like that. He's not from Arkansas. He's from Florida. And that's another thing, the only Florida kid on the roster walks off Florida to clinch the SEC.
Yeah.
There's just so many storylines there. That's amazing. But the Charlie Welch story is awesome. And I hope nothing but the best for that kid moving forward. And I think you're right. We're probably going to see him in that Goodhart role next year.
I think we could. Absolutely. I look at Welch, and every time he steps to the plate, I'm like, something big is about to happen, without a doubt. But we have a big game tonight. Arkansas Vandy, first pitch, 8:30. What do you guys think about that one? That's a game I've been looking forward to. We haven't played Vandy this year, and I think they are the team to beat in the East.
Well, they actually finished second behind Tennessee, even though they beat Tennessee 2 out of 3.
Yeah, but we beat Tennessee, is what I'm saying. They're the
Sure. Well, you're right. We did beat Tennessee, but they beat Tennessee too. But they finished behind them. It's kind of a weird scenario.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why I'm
Vandy
looking
is-
at them like they may be the team to beat, because they beat Tennessee, but
Right.
still finished behind them. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, Vandy is actually number 3 in the country, number 4 in the SEC. I don't know. Anyway, probably number 2 overall. But yeah, heavyweight matchup tonight. Big time matchup between Wicklander and Kumar Rocker. I would like to see Arkansas win this one just for the kind of the psyche of all of it. It don't mean a thing, except it'll just be a lot of fun to watch Arkansas beat basically everybody in the SEC if they beat Vandy.
And I'll be shocked if it is Rocker for sure, and if it is Wicklander for sure, I'll be shocked if either one of them go more than 4 innings. And I mean, pitch count kind of plays a part in there. If they're at 40 pitches, they might go one more, but I don't see them getting overstretched much there. And then it'll kind of come down to the bullpen, and that's what we've been talking about. We've got some guys in that bullpen that that are a lot better than people think, that aren't getting used a whole lot because we're so deep. Like I doubt he's playing, but you got a Nolan, you've got
Caden Monk. Zach Morris is a guy that throws 95 miles an hour from the left-hand side.
Dude's got some plus stuff. Right. He's got some plus stuff, and when he gets it all figured out, he's another key part moving forward.
And he's saved by the bell. I mean, that's
exactly.
Right?
Here we go again.
I heard AC Slater was looking into us. He was interested, but I don't know. There's a guy named Diamond. What is it? Dustin Diamond. And I'm hearing that he don't have like the physique, but he's got some incredible bat speed. It's like Robert Morris, comes in about 5'9", about 160. But anyways, Screech baby, good stuff there. But it's big, man. I think we're gonna.
He doesn't know how to deal with the awkward silence there.
Well, y'all just quit talking on me.
I'm just sitting here going, Dustin Diamond died like a little over a month ago. Man.
Did he really die? I didn't know that.
He did.
Oh man, that's
cancer.
Yeah, too soon on that one. Too soon.
Definitely. But if Arkansas wins, it's a big deal because we get that extra day off.
Right. That's the biggest thing about it at this point. I think they go. If I'm not mistaken, it goes into single elimination again. Yeah. So if they win and then they lose one, they're out. That was a scenario that happened. I guess the last 18, I believe it was, Arkansas 1-2, got into the semifinals. LSU beat them. They fall out. But it doesn't matter. I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter. Whatever happens, happens. But the regional is what is the most important thing.
Definitely the regional.
It is. And I mean, we're going to be matched up with somebody who's obviously a good team, and we got to win those. And then we go on to the super and keep on going to the road to Omaha. We want to be there.
That's right.
And we're going to be watching that closely, but it's very important to see who Arkansas matches up with in a regional.
Yeah, I mean, the matchups are going to be huge. Not only the matchups that you get paired up with the regional, but also the actual inside the regional matchups. One team to look out for is Oklahoma State. They're the 4th in the Big 12, behind the Big 3 of TCU, Texas, and Texas Tech. They're a pretty good team. They're not going to be an easy out. I mean, I know we've all been writing Arkansas into the College World Series, even us. I mean, we're making plans even as we speak. But, you got to get through that first.
You do. And, it's going to be fun to watch these. I always like the regional atmosphere in Fayetteville. It's if you've never been to a regional or super regional at Bob Walker Stadium, you're missing out.
100% capacity.
It's a blast. The last regional I went to was the 18 team, and I rode the shuttle from the free parking area, and we were on the bus with a relief pitcher for Tulsa. And it wasn't him, but it was his dad and his mom and his grandparents. And we got to talk to him the whole time. They didn't think he'd play, but he did come in and he got some work. But it's just awesome atmosphere. You know how Baum is. It's going to be rolling. And I can't wait to get that underway. But let's get a big win tonight. That'd be awesome.
That's the thing. Well, that's it. We'll stay tuned. That game's coming up right after we get off the air. And we'll have another episode of the Razor Wire next week. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in this time on
The Razor Wire.